Hi and welcome to the Lightleaders, a podcast for lightworkers who want more money, power and impact. I'm your host, Alex E. Lember. I believe that we are currently in the middle of a global awakening of humanity and that leveraging entrepreneurship is the fastest way to raise the consciousness of our planet. So in this podcast, I interview lightworkers and conscious entrepreneurs who follow their soul mission and have built a business around it. I call them light leaders, and this is the new paradigm. You will hear their stories and, more importantly, receive tools, tips and strategies on how you can also impact more people and grow your business while following your soul mission. If you hear little nuggets you love and you'd like to share, screenshot this episode and share on your Instagram stories. Make sure to tag us at the Lightleaders podcast and we will repost. There's a device I love and use almost every day. It's called the Healy. It sends specific frequencies to the body. It's been developed by quantum physicists from Germany, and it is the next evolution of health and well-being. It has amazing results. On top of it, it's an entrepreneurial opportunity. This is how I monetize my lifestyle, my brand, and this podcast. So if you're interested in getting this amazing device for yourself, or also in the entrepreneurial opportunity, I would love to help you. You can go to www.thelightleaders.org/Healy, Healy. Hi and welcome to a new episode of The Lightleaders. Today I'm with Marci, who went from being a waitress paid $2 an hour to becoming a $1 million mentor and a transformational spiritual leader. So Marci teaches people to become alchemists of light and liberation, to heal and create a life they absolutely love. Marci Locke Mentor, also known as Sundari, the alchemist of life and liberation, is a global heart and feel leader for the planet and guide to lasting healing and rapid transformation. She guides us beyond the surface level self-empowerment to reveal the truth within operating from heart consciousness, activating DNA, divine remembrance, liberation, abundance, and wholeness codes for all of humankind to truly become the new humans of a new earth. Her genius is taking you past information and into embodiment that you know exactly how to integrate it into your daily life to create the change. It isn't education that changes your life, it's embodiment. Marci, welcome to the show.
I'm like, wow, that's so good to hear this whole bio.
It's fully aligned with what we do here, totally. Because we're really about creating that new us and bridging the gap where people sometimes see separation between spirituality and business and into
all
embodying
things.
that.
Right. Yeah, beautiful.
So very important question first, Marci. What are you grateful for today?
My every heartbeat and breath. I really thrive off of and live in the experience of this moment. Like, how could I be any otherwhere than right in the eternal now, which is this moment to sit here and be here and, have some breath with you and be able to share these transmissions. So I'm really grateful to just be alive. I think what a beautiful gift it is that we even exist and that the universe was created for our play and our pleasure. So this moment.
That's a lot to be grateful for sure.
So much magic and miracles in this moment.
I always like to give a little bit of context to the listener as we start, which is, in a nutshell, what is your why, your vision for the world, and also how your business helps to bring this mission and vision into manifestation.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lev. Well, currently, because we are here to continue to grow and expand and shift and not be stagnant, currently my greatest passion is creating the new earth. And the light beings that I channel and work with, I've been given some divine assignments to really create a way for trainings of the new human to become that of the new earth, to be living and operating from fifth dimensional consciousness and above, That means our heart-centered consciousness to be able to see, hear, and speak and feel and experience everything through love. My genius and my journey has allowed me to become an alchemist, to truly tap into our inner alchemist. It is just everything that is not of the highest vibration and alignment to our divinity. We get to alchemize, and we get to transmute to the highest frequency, to be in that frequency and state of higher consciousness and ways of being. So currently right now, I'm really I was called to do Peace for the Planet, 7 days of channeled light code activations when COVID hit. And from there, I was called to create Align to Manifest, which is a program taking people through alignment and kind of a mystery school mastermind, like human and alien, like all the things that we are. And then we just recently did an Embodied Empire Led by Spirit event online. So just have been really called to shift to work with the masses of people, that everyone can have this experience. Because before I was working with a lot of at $1 million level clients and high businesses and leaders. And now it's time for all of us. New Earth Abundance is that everyone receives.
And more specifically, do you mainly at the moment have online programs or do one-on-one coaching, group coaching?
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have clients anywhere from $150,000 to $1 million plus price
One-on-one
points that
coaching.
I work on with one-on-one. Yeah. And then I have some, I have masterminds for high level leaders and coaches and healers and teachers and just fucking new humans of the new earth, people that know that they're meant to operate from a different way. And then I have a community, a tribe community on my podcast. I have a book. So yeah, just many ways that we share and just, all that's available.
And you're probably highly organized because I also see you a lot at ecstatic dances. So you're definitely not
I have a
hustling
whole fucking
24/7.
team. That's how I'm organized. It's like, I don't do anything that's outside of my genius. I have no idea how to, book a hotel or make a flight or pay PayPal because I haven't done it for so long. I choose to put my time, effort, and energy to what is the most nourishing for my soul, what brings me the most joy, and sharing in my greatest dharma. I know that I'm always fully supported, and so life just continues to support. And so I have a whole team that takes care of all the details. So I am at ecstatic dance whenever it feels good, which is most of the time. Most of the time, like, move my body. Yeah, that feels good. Let's go move the body. That's actually where we finally met it the first time, huh? At a dance. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, which I love your playful nature. And dancing with you always feels like I'm entered into like a circus. I always feel like we start, jumping around like being silly kids, and it's so much fun.
Well, exactly. I mean, you talked about integration between the human and the divine, and I can see there's also the inner child.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I'm so fully, my inner child is called Sweet Sun, because Sundari. And so Sweet Sun, we're totally like epic relationship, because otherwise I did a podcast on this, that your inner 5-year-old is running your life. Like otherwise, if we don't have a relationship with our inner child, then that's what's running all those programs, versus you having upgraded the conversation and the experience to, have a complete relationship with all parts of you. So that you're in divine alignment and freedom.
Nice. I love also to give a bit of context about you personally, and especially what opened you especially to that passion for creating the new earth and this 5D evolution of consciousness, and then also to do your business in alignment with that. Like, do you have maybe a special aha moment that you want to share?
Well, gosh, I mean, everything is like life. I believe life is consistently providing for us our perfect path of evolution, like every single
moment. But also,
moment.
was there a big change? Because here I have people who feel they've been spiritual their whole life, for example, and you have people who are not at all. And they had something that happened to them.
Yeah, of course. That's what I was going to say. Like, as much as we have like moment by moment, we can have ahas. I actually teach a lot of people think it's going to be a big aha, but it's always the little tiny micro alignments that create a big change. Yes, I have had moments that bitch slapped me from the universe to allow me to pay attention inside now, which is pain, right? One of those was, for my story, I was, most people hear my story like you haven't heard, like, oh, $2 an hour waitress to $1 million coach. How did that happen, right? And I was raised in a religion that was very much kind of cultish and just,
in the US?
Yeah, I was raised in a strict religion from the time I was raised on a farm where we literally were poverty consciousness, scarcity, had to grow on food to survive, couldn't be seen or heard or have an opinion. I mean, I had rape attempts, kidnapping attempts, stalkers, pretty much every trauma you could imagine I experienced. And it's funny because when they did a documentary of my life, they came to me and they were like, wanted to do a documentary and was like, this is too much trauma. No one's going to believe this. It's like, that's what I've experienced. But I believe I called forth all of that, to experience all that, to really come to a place of complete neutrality with all of life. And there is no judgment for anything. One of the experiences, though, that kind of catapulted me was when I experienced breast cancer, and I healed my body of breast cancer. I was really kind of surface, like diving into surface spirituality. Like, for about 10 years, after my dad passed when I was 15, when I was 17, I was like, there's got to be something better and different. And I did, The Secret and, Think and Grow Rich, and started reading the books and kind of stayed on a surface level for about 7-8 years. And it wasn't until I had breast cancer was a big hit for me. And that's when actually I started communicating with more angelic beings that gave me like a code of the 5 steps to freedom, which is a basic tool that I teach and we give people for free, just to start knowing how to process and work through what's unconscious to creating something conscious. And that was a huge epiphany for me, because I got told I had breast cancer, and I had my former husband with me at the time. And I went to call my mom, who was the only other person that knew I was going in for this. And the moment that and I think I speak to this in my book and I share this experience, but the moment I said the words to my mom, I have breast cancer, my whole, I had this out of body experience where all of a sudden everything froze, time froze. And I had this vision of the words blasting out to the universe. And kind of like in the movie, The Secret, I saw them just and all of a sudden I had this vision of, it was like the phone rang and I saw myself answer the phone, and I was like, and it was my sister, and she's like, how you feeling, hun? And I realized my whole world had become about the sickness, because I'd spoken that I had it. Now I was living in the frequency of I'm sick. And I saw how it would affect my little boy at the time. Like my oldest was 2 years old when I had breast cancer, and just saw it take over my world. And I just had this whole vision play out in front of me, and came back into this moment like nothing had even happened, and just saw that if I chose to, that I had a choice. Like all timelines are available, infinite timelines are available. I could choose to focus on that, or I could choose something different. And in that moment, I had a conversation with my mom where I was like, because I had been studying certain, I now see it as surface self-empowerment, but certain levels of self-empowerment of whatever I focus on, I'm going to create, and my thoughts or things, etc. Even though now we know that our feelings and whatever is vibrating from our cells is 500,000 times more powerful than a thought. So this is when I was literally given the guidance from angels of what am I feeling? And it was I'm feeling scared and I could die and all these things. And what I came to through this guidance, they gave me the 5 steps of why I was feeling that way, what I really wanted. What I recognized was my old identity that was a victim who survived, that was always in struggle and sacrifice. That's what I was raised in. I was raised in a belief system that you're here to struggle, you're here to survive, you're going to be tested. And if you do what God wants you to do and just keep sacrificing, when you die, you'll go to heaven, or you'll have a mansion in heaven. That was basically the programming I was given. And so in this kind of vision guidance, it was really called me forth to choose something different, because I realized my old self wanted to be the victim who survived. It was everything in me wanted to tell everyone that I had breast cancer. And I realized if I did, I was going to speak that into reality, and I was going to be living that. So I called my mom, or in that call, I said, from this moment on, no one gets to know about this. We're only going to continue to have a relationship and talk if we choose to talk about health and happiness and joy and peace and ease, because I'm going to focus on my health. Because I realized I have a 2-year-old little boy that I wanted to live for, and I wanted to live. And I got to reprogram that I wasn't going to operate from that old identity. So I basically called her to secrecy. And it was funny because after I healed myself within a year, I just did my own natural healing, going through my spiritual path. And when I went back in a year later, everything had disappeared. And then 2 years later, I got asked to speak at this huge black tie affair about survivors of breast cancer. And it was interesting how it came into my field. And I'd kind of forgotten that I even had it. Because again, once we heal things, they disappear from our we don't relate to them anymore. It's it's dissolved. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. So I can speak to having us focus on how we transmute trauma through joy and bliss. And we actually create a different reality. And my sister came to that. It was one of the first times I ever spoke, and it was this black tie affair. And as I shared my story of having breast cancer, I remember her jaw just dropping, she had never known. My own sister, I never knew that I had breast cancer. And that's because I was listen, we're going to put all our focus on this. So that was a huge one for me. And it really taught me how to live by moment creation of the 5 steps that I was pretty much given as a download, which is like, what am I feeling this moment? Noticing the thoughts, the perceptions, the words I'm speaking, the feelings I'm having, and what gets to be alchemized. Like, why is that there? What is revealing itself that wants to be healed and loved? That then I come to like, well, what I really want is, and how I'm going to choose to consciously move into creating it, from healing and loving it and alchemizing it to like, oh, this is the new belief and perception, and this is the action I'm going to take. And how do I align that to be fun and ease? How do I move forward with like excitement and joy, and it matches? So those are kind of the pieces that came together for me through my journey over the years, going from mindset, like I was a nutrition fitness expert on TV when I left the waitressing thing and moved towards that level of alignment. And then it was mindset, and then it was emotional, and then it was DNA activation and esoteric healing. And then it's become channeling and spiritual guidance. So, I mean, it's like we just continue to expand.
And so that's a lot of dedication to the law of attraction, basically, and how things manifest in our lives, right?
Well, I think the law of attraction is a good starting point for it. You know, like, again, to just be aware. Awareness is the starting base of where our thoughts going, right? But each thought is a vibration, a frequency. But I believe just using our thoughts is kind of like mental masturbation. It's like we're like people. That's where people are stuck in. And trying to force and control their thoughts to go a certain way. And that's a lot of surface self-empowerment, which is like, let me focus on the thought I want. Let me focus on the affirmation. But the body doesn't fucking believe it. The body's like, that is not true for me because of all this energy stuck appendage points. This is why we're cleansing our rainbow light body to be more light, because enlightenment is to be in light, to be a higher vibration.
So for you, it wasn't just about not speaking about it, but then also tuning into a feeling of health every day.
I got to heal what was, because I mean, I had deep programs around sickness. My dad was sick my whole life. He died of diabetes when I was 15. I saw family always sick. I learned that the body is a fight, that the body isn't your friend, that you don't trust it. So, I mean, hence I had so many sicknesses and diseases growing up. And so it was and each emotion is every physical symptom that shows up is an emotion. Right, is showing us what is stuck inside the body. So it was just telling me breast cancer, breasts are a reflection of not loving yourself, not nurturing yourself. And so, of course, that showed up in my life. I see how my dad had diabetes his whole entire life. He had it from the time of like 19 till he died at 47. And always had like intense pain with his shoulders. Shoulders reflect receiving joy, how much joy you can receive in life. And his whole programming was sacrifice and struggle and hardship. So the body is just telling us what is actually energetically wanting to be revealed. And that's just one of the portals or the access points we have to look at, oh, this is what's vibrating and happening. Yet coming into it in a knowledge or an understanding of like, it's a gift and it's our play and we're here for just a cosmic game, and communicating with our inner child and a 3-year-old is how we like, these are all the toys in the playground we have of alchemy to like play with. Ooh, the feeling, the motion, the thought. Oh, this thought and the story gets to be alchemized. This is what was really true, you know? So yeah, there's, I believe the law of attraction is more, there's some basic foundational tools there, but if we're just using the mind, the whole rest of our system is not in, and this is the basis of alignment to manifestation. So much of what we teach in surface self-empowerment is completely off of true manifestation and a path and a method to manifestation. And it's because we focus on a thought, but again, like maybe our words we're speaking aren't in alignment or the feelings were, you know, and so it's like you've got energy going different directions. What's the loudest is what we're vibrating inside. What's what our cells are saying and what we believe inside. That's why we always manifest what we're vibrating. So until people learn like the basic simple is like, are my thoughts in alignment? My belief systems, my programs, are my perceptions in alignment to this? Are my words that I'm coding in, I'm spelling into my reality in alignment with this? Are my feelings clean and clear and this feels amazing and in alignment? If one of those is off, we've got, you know, we're not, that's why we're not aligned to what we want. We're actually aligned to what we have. And, you know, we always can see what we're aligned to because results don't lie. And they show us what we're aligned to, even if it's what we're unconsciously committed to and aligned to.
And what are the 5 steps to freedom? Do you want to share?
Yeah, I'm happy to. And we have, if you go to my website, we give this away for free. Okay. And you can get my ultimate life of having it all activation and whatnot. Because this, to me, again, these things became passions. When I first created this, I was called to, I witnessed how my 12-year-old nephew at the time committed suicide. And my boys were just, my oldest was just 2 years younger than him. And it just was mind boggling to me that, you know, no one ever had any idea that he was in that place. and he just committed suicide. And then when he talked to like his friends and people at school, it was like he was bullied. He never shared any of this with his parents. And so it's because he suppressed his feelings and emotions. And we don't create that. It's like, okay to experience whatever we're experiencing. Everything is okay. Everything is just part of our human experience, and all things have a right to exist. It's all part of our perfect, beautiful journey here as a holy human. And so I was called to give this out for free, and we've done it ever since, because this really is teaching everyone to witness everything that's happening unconsciously and to move through it consciously to create what they really want. So, but with the training with this, it's free. There's plenty of like deep dives on it. It helps go more in depth. But the 5 steps basically is the moment we feel, and I like to make things so simple, is if I know in my divine natural state, if I get to remember that, all right, I'm divinity. Here I'm experiencing being human, but I also know I have my wholeness, right, of who I came to be. And so if my divine natural state is bliss and joy and peace and ease, what we're actually doing is we're realigning to that, like being our norm. Just like we're like, do bliss. And the moment we feel off, we go, ooh, it's a little bit easier for us to notice the off when we've been living in bliss. But for most people that have never even, what is bliss? What is being in joy? How can you be happy all the time? Like, I don't know what that is. What we get to start to do is if in any moment we don't feel what we want to be experiencing, peace, happiness, joy, love, I then tell people like, that's like let me pay attention inside. Let me see what's happening. And let me just get curious. So I always say the pre-steps to this is really kind of breathe and to sway into like, because breath, sound, and movement is fastest way to move energy and to tune in. And I use the codings interesting or it's perfect. That's what helped me go from like life is shit to being like, oh, okay, this is perfect. Like interesting. What's going on here? So we're just starting to tune in and give ourselves permission to play in the playground of our inner world. And so the first step is really tuning to what am I feeling? You can do that by, some people are like, I don't know what I'm feeling. It's like, well, where are you feeling it in the body? I'm feeling it in my stomach. Okay. So fear, like what could I be afraid of? Or, my head's achy. It's like, oh, what could I be angry about? So there's specific core emotions that usually associate to areas of the body. But just to tune into like, what am I feeling? Then we're connecting more dots. This is where the mental is helping us. That we're like, why? Why is that? Why could I be feeling angry? And sometimes because it can be so subtle, other times it's smacked in front of your face. Well, he fucking said that. And I noticed I felt, rejected and upset and hurt. So that's when we start to go through the alchemy process. It's like, ooh, what are the thoughts? What are the feelings? What is this connected to? What's underneath? And this literally is a fucking gold mine of lifetimes of things that are stagnant if we're willing to go there. But most people, if they just want to go, oh, okay, I know I'm feeling this, but this is what I want. And that's what's kind of surface self-empowerment does. It's like, let's run past it or maybe acknowledge it. My layers of training through the many years on this journey have allowed me to go, am I really fully fucking feeling it? Because feeling it fully, it was the angel Uratel that taught me to fully dive into leaning to feeling and alchemizing, that then I could encode it with anything. Like I encode everything I speak and create to be encoded with the frequency of divine unconditional love. That anyone who hears or sees what we share is like, feels a frequency attached to it. So it's like, can I truly feel my sadness? And am I really feeling it? Am I tuning into when I was that 4-year-old that I led it to? And like, can I really feel that? Can I emotionally express that? Can I release it from my cells? Then we have a release in the body, but then it's like, okay, what is the story? What's the thought? What's the idea? And any programs that are operating, we get to start to break those down, dissolve them, de-story them, unlearn them, unprogram, to now choose, oh, this is what's really true. This is actually what is true. This is my new belief and perception. Now I get to integrate that by practicing and playing, and what's the behavior, the pattern I get to do. So in the 5 steps, it's like, what am I feeling? Why? What do I really want? Calling yourself on your bullshit. This is what I really want. So if I really want love and connection, I get to call myself my bullshit of why I just got guarded and I pushed away, or I don't want to go, or I don't want to interact, right? So we alchemize whatever is not of the highest fucking vibration of light. And then we just get to integrate it into our lives. We get to play in the patterns, the behaviors, the new thoughts. And then that's how we come to embodiment and being it. And so, yeah, there's layers to that I teach, because really the 5 steps, anyone could use it unconsciously and be like, that doesn't fucking work. But it's like, if I say, what am I feeling? I'm feeling fucking pissed. Why? Because you did that to me. And what do I want? I want you to fix it. You see how we can be using it still unconsciously. So the more context of consciousness we receive, the higher we go, oh, like once I know everything outside of me is simply a reflection of what I'm vibrating and what's inside me. I can't actually feel fear or anger or sadness or anything unless I'm vibrating that already. And there's just an external trigger that shows up to remind me or allow me to witness what's there. So if I see anything with you, oh, that's right. All of a sudden, I can't even go there and play that game. It's like, oh, okay, let's bypass that bullshit of the blame judgment game. Let me go within. And so we begin to allow things to not be drama or suffering. We can start to play and allow things to ease and grace and flow when we're just like, all right, I'm on allowance. What do I get to align? Like, what's telling me that what is here for me to heal and love that I get to align to something greater?
So that's on your website for people who want to dive
they're
into
called the
it
Freedom
and
Activators.
practice it.
I honestly was like, where do we have them that we give them away for free? They can get my ultimate life of having it all activation and even just send a message to my team and they'll send them the Freedom Activators for free. Yeah.
I'm also really interested in, you talked about $1 million mentor, and sometimes in spiritual circles, people have shame or judgment around making money from their gifts, especially if they feel they haven't, if it's something like a channeling, for example. What is your approach to money and spirituality? And what do you advise for people who might have resistance?
So it's such a beautiful thing. I've witnessed this for years, coaching light leaders and just leaders in general.
And did you have a breakthrough personally on this too?
Yeah, I'll tell you how I was actually called forth to coach at $1 million level from grandmother Ayahuasca, from Abuelita herself. So it was not the game most people are playing in business today is very masculine, structural, what we've been taught. Most people have never seen how to run a business or an empire or lead and create based on what their spirit is calling them to do, what they're called forth to, what's their most nourishing and joyful, what's of the highest vibration, because we know that's our highest service, And it's like, no, business has to look like this. I have to have these things. This is the structure, etc. I believe, and I've taught for years, I've taught deep dives on money manifestation and obviously having $1 million clients, etc. I get asked a lot of questions around this. And I've always said, it's not about the business strategy. It's about alignment. Any strategy will work when you're aligned to it. When you're in alignment, you're only going to be called to do the things that are actually of your highest joy and the work for you. And every single person's fucking unique. So you get to design it to be whatever way it feels good for you. And sharing your gifts, and so many light leaders, healers, teachers, beautiful beings with so many gifts have massive blocks around sharing their gifts and thinking that there's an association, which is just an inner reflection. When there's an association around money and receiving money, I always have taught in my money medicine program and my New Earth Abundance stuff, I share that it's money and receiving money, or having money issues is not an issue of money. It's an issue of your self-worth, right? Or it's an issue of receiving. So the amount of money we're able to receive is just a reflection of, number one, how much value you're giving to the world. Because the more energy that I give out, the more I receive back, right? And how much you love yourself. What I find a lot of healers, teachers, light leaders work in is they have so much to give, yet because of these blocks, so they're gifted, they have a lot of value to give, but because the block of actually receiving and loving themselves enough to be seen, to be heard, to own their value, they're not raising their hand and sharing it. Hence, they're only giving this much value when they could give that much value. Hence, they can only receive this much value back and barely survive and do the things instead of fucking be infinitely supported that I can continue to give at the high vibration. So the truth is, money is just a tool of production. Money is like, and once I've dove in with a lot of leaders and businesses that have been like, wanted to catapult their business, but finding like, why do they sabotage? And there's these connections to, like I had one guy who we found the connection to, he thought successful people were assholes. And it's like, well, how are you going to be successful in these terms of what you deem success financially if you think you're going to be an asshole? And once I myself caught a lot of those to shifted it to like, I choose to be, my imprinting or my choice of freedom, the way that I chose freedom to look for me is that I can go wherever I want to go, do whatever the fuck I want to do, whenever I'm called to do it, with who, with and whom, however. And that's when I was led on my global citizen journey. And I went from teaching on stages to literally teaching in ashrams and in caves and on mountaintops and letting and transcending money all together. Just know where am I called? This is why I'm doing more of the masses now versus like, looking a certain way. And so for me, I'll share this example in the story of, again, when you're led by spirit, I was in the jungles, I've worked with sacred medicines for 10 plus years. I run retreats all over the world, diving into sacred sacraments as well as DNA activation and encoding and different things in sacred portals. And it was grandmother Ayahuasca that literally said, it's time. There's a few people that require your support that are here big for the world, and they require higher investment in themselves to step through their comfort zone. She's like, you get to up how much you're asking for and call these people forth. And at the time I was coaching at 150,000, my personal clients. And I was like, okay, what does that look like? 200,000? And she's like, no. And I was like, 250,000? She's like, no. And all of a sudden my hand went into the dirt and I found this rock and I like pulled the rock close to me and I knew exactly who this rock resembled, what light leader in the world, where they were in the world, what their blocks were, what they were meant to do for the world, but that they weren't going to step through it without a high level of investment, right? Because that's just the investment in ourselves. The law of parallel returns, how much energy we give to something we receive back. And I literally, she did it 5 times, pulled forth 5 people all around the world, amazing leaders that were just stuck and I knew exactly what I got to share with them would liberate them and also give us greater liberation. And she said the level of investment for them to step through their bullshit is $1 million. Now I came out of that and, the first person I told was actually a guy I was dating at the time. And I was like, he picks me up from the airport. I'm like, yeah, I'm receiving 5 $1 million clients. I'm now coaching at $1 million level. And he's like, wow, that's like the only person I know that does that is Tony Robbins. And I was like, and I'm motherfucking Marci Locke and I do it too. Like I had like a knowing, like I get to, again, I choose this. It wasn't about money ever. It was never about strategy. It was never like, ooh, now it's time. It was spirit called me forth. Now I got to align myself into any blocks in the way to allow me to know that level of worth that I give. Long to the end of the story, within 30 days, I had my first $1 million client. And he got his, and even calling him forth into the million, again, you get to be unattached. It's like, I'm just here delivering what I'm called to serve. I know the value that I bring, and these are the things I offer. You can choose this one or this one or this one or not. It's like, if it's a fit, it's a fuck yes fit for both of us. That's what aligns. He wanted the $500,000 option. And again, being my first one after only coaching at 150,000. See, the thing is, I could have been like, okay, I'll give you whatever you want. He like wanted the $1 million experience, but the $500,000 price tag. Yet I wasn't attached. I was just like, hey, dude, whatever feels of the highest alignment for you. And this is part of where healers, teachers, light leaders, we keep buying into what we've been doing or not what we're called to, because that's what's here right now. It's like, well, I'll just take this until I get that. But we're saying yes instead of, and whatever we're saying yes to, we're saying no to something else. So you're saying no to the future clients. You're saying no to a bigger game.
Who are usually those people who would pay $1 million for your services? Do they want to become coaches themselves?
So I mean, like with this person, for instance, that I was called to, he had a big influence in our in the world system of energy. And when we aligned, it was the inner alignments in his life that we got to align. Within 5 weeks, he had a $5 million ROI. And yet he's like, I would have never done that if we didn't align things. I've worked with some of the biggest businesses in the world. And yet, again, it's about there's high transformation going to happen for the planet. And, all things I have, some of my clients are high level corporate people that know that they're moving into doing their light leadership and moving from corporation. In my online programs and my masterminds, there's people that are, a lot of times I've coached the coaches for years. Most of the times I was coaching the coaches that were high level coaches. And, being that person for them and guiding them along the way to their inner alignment and growth and process. But it's like anybody who knows, again, like these tools work for every single day person that is like, all right, I'm going to choose to lean into something different, to have something different, to practice. We're just practicing and playing into new ways of being human. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting also the way you own it. Did you have I know people saying it was pretentious or mocking it?
So this is the thing. When I come to the laws, I mean, with the light beings that I work with, there's like, they don't use the word laws because there are no laws. They're like, there's just higher ways of being. They don't need a law to not kill, because why would I kill you when you're me and we're all connected and we're wholeness? Yet what always makes it simple for me is to bring it back to energy. Energy never lies. It's either expansive or it's contractive. It's either, unconditional love or it's holding back from that. And when we have an understanding or a construct of consciousness of the higher ways of being in vibration, see, I don't buy into the lower level density bullshit. I worked through all those things for years, getting on TV and doing everything else. It was like, again, if I'm not going to own my own worth, I wouldn't be here standing and raising my hand that I could share and support for all those people. Now, what comes with that? People that could be like, you're fucking this, you're that. Beautiful, my love. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know what you're thinking and feeling. I know that I am just a reflection of what's vibrating inside that gets to be healed and loved. So see, when I worked through that for myself, the first time I had haters, I absolutely like broke my heart. Like, they don't know me and they don't know what I'm about, or blah, 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 blah. I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing if I had this idea that everyone should like me, or that, and I know everything is just a reflection of what's inside. So I don't need them to like me. I don't need their validation or their approval. I'm not here for someone else's validation or approval. I'm here for my own fucking divinity. And that means I'm here to explore and discover my unique abilities, because each of us are that. So if someone was like, that's pretentious, it's really showing what they haven't owned within themselves, how they are pretentious, we have all traits within us. You know, I don't know if you study the gene keys and the I Ching, and these are all beautiful. They're beautiful gifts of the shadow frequency of something, all the way transmuting it to a higher acidic state of frequency. We have all of them within us. And that's why I say all things have a right to exist. So if all of these things are within me, and yet I haven't owned one, that's why I'm triggered by it, because it's here to be healed. This is why I can live in a place of neutrality of like, it's okay if you have that opinion about me, and whatever you want to experience, like, I honor you as a divine light being. You're in your perfect experience of what you chose. Every moment is designed by us for us. We know that, like, every interaction is for us. So even someone thinking that, if it charged me, if I had a charge and trigger, it would be something that I would get to look at another layer of like, oh, where am I feeling rejected, or like I'm not enough, and I'm looking outside for someone's approval instead of giving myself approval. So this is why in every single moment we get to heal and alchemize for ourselves, that I can operate from peace. And peace is my highest priority, because it shows me anything that's not in peace shows me what gets to be healed and alchemized to come to love.
And that's nice to hear, but even better to actually do it.
That's right.
Every day, all the time.
But yet, so this is how I love and I geek out on teaching people the moment by moment steps that makes it practical. So yes, I mean, we're operating, this is like from our wholeness, but someone else like that doesn't have this consciousness of how to be that is like, how can you just be okay with that? And we need to break down the stories and the ideas and illusions to allow us to go, okay, that's what's really true. Okay, so I'm practicing.
I think many of our listeners would agree intellectually, and they would also like, I think most of the people who listen to the Light Leaders, they know about that.
Yeah.
But maybe, and by they, maybe I mean I.
That's you. Over here, clarify, please.
Maybe they still have moments where
I do
they
too.
know it, but
yeah, that's okay. I do too. I mean, a lot of the people that I call forth now are light leaders that are like, I have moments of living in 5D. I have moments of where like I can see through love, or I've alchemized or neutralized a past experience, or I've come to healing with something, but they're moments and they're not sure of how to actually live and operate from unconditional love, which is fifth dimensional consciousness and above, which we all get to operate from to create the new earth experience, right? And I still, like, I talk all the time to how I can witness my humanness and my wholeness at the same time. And I'm actually like, I'll give you an example. So let's say, for instance, that, I'm going with every new opportunity, or it could even be walking in here. It could be like, I could notice that there's a bit of nervousness, or anything that's like, okay. And that's my scared little girl that's like, are you sure we're going to be okay? We're going to be seen. We're safe to be seen. Because we've had all those years and layers of that. And so that could be my scared self that feels insecure. And at the same time, I can choose to remind her, oh, sweetie, yeah, guess what? This is so much fun. We're just going to have a jam out session. We're going to talk love and light and all the good things. Remember, it's safe to be seen. It's safe to be heard. It's safe to be in the light. That's when we attract all our beloveds and we have the most fun. And I'm reaffirming, just because I've gone through those phases, like, remember, sweetie, this is actually what's true. And I can choose to show up and own my worth. And so it's like, I can see my wholeness and I can see my humanness. I can experience all of it. I fucking am human of humans. Like, I experience all emotions. All things have a right to exist. So it's not to be in denial. It's just to, every time it comes up, to actually surrender and allow to receive it, to go, ooh, what is here for me that wants to be more healed and loved? What part of my humanness or aspect am I fighting or rejecting, whether it be selfishness and breaking down the stories of selfishness. Again, society would tell you, you need to be selfless. We know that if we're not taking care of ourselves in the highest alignment, I can't fucking help anybody, right? And it's the same thing healers and leaders get to recognize, that how do I serve and support the world at a greater degree if I'm worried about paying my bills and putting food on the table? right? If I'm not free to go, ooh, I'm called here to go into this immersion experience for my own growth, or to share and serve in this way, to create this project and do this philanthropy. Like for me, that became like, my game of fucking transcending money is to play at the biggest game of my glory and to share with the most people. But if I'm limited, I'm not. So it's okay to experience our humanness. We're accepting all of our humanness, feeling all of that. It's just not to judge it. That's the game. It's not to judge it or blame it or shame it. It's actually, can I? And I feel like in the spiritual world, this is such a game for all of us, in that at least I'll take responsibility for my own path. There's so many times it's like, okay, acceptance. I fully accept this. Is it gone yet? No, I feel like I accept this. Is it done? Right? Like, it's like spiritual bypass. We were like, I accept it, but we really want it to be gone, and can actually surrender to fully accepting this is what is. And destroying that it should be any other way, and coming to neutrality that I wouldn't want it any other way.
It's like, I trust, it's not there. What?
Right.
Why it's not there?
Yeah. And so these are the deeper truths that I say, like, again, that's, I feel like we've all been taught a lot of surface spiritual work, and there's deeper truths we get to lean into, truly embody being. Like, all the masters have taught us to go within, Buddha, Jesus, etc. They've all, Mary Magdalene, all of them have taught us to go within. It's to actually alchemize, notice the feelings that are there. And to our whole inner realm is like our greatest adventure. Like, this is fucking exciting. Like, this glory that we are. So it's to play in the power we're discovering truly now when we go fucking mystical, the codes and the different gifts that, I mean, there's so many codes of alchemy that I've learned from Isis and higher light beings, of like coding into reality and doing different things and using sacred geometry, and just like, we're fucking magical and we have all that available. But most people we get to align our human life or our consciousness to be operating from a place of that allows the frequency that we can start to play with even higher levels of magic.
How do you communicate with these higher beings? So you talk
just
about
like I'm talking to you.
But
I mean, medicine definitely helps, but I don't need medicine anymore. I mean, there's different layers of accessing our DNA. I'll give you an instance. When I was in my boys, who we were saying before, my oldest is turning 18 today. And again, my boys were 1 and 4 years old when I became that $2 an hour waitress with $10 to my name. I invested in my first coach at $15,000, and my life has massively transformed ever since I highly invested in myself. And my boys were 9 and 12 the first time we went down to the jungles to Ayahuasca. And I think this was the first trip down.
Did they do it too?
Yeah, my boys
9
both,
and 12.
9 and 12 were the first times. And my oldest went back to me the jungles after another retreat, and we got to do it together alone, and we traveled and did some things I've seen such massive shifts. But this first experience that reminds me of your question is so I went down, they chose in, they're doing it. I was in my full experience. My boys finished, they're out of the sacred grounds. They're up in like the little, kitchen casita with the family being taken care of. And I'm in my experience. All of a sudden I sit up and I'm like, oh, where's my boys? And I instantly access the quantum field, and I can see them in the kitchen. I see exactly what they're eating, what they're saying. I hear everything happening, all the things. And I was like, okay, they're good. Go back in. A couple hours later, I'm like, oh, where's my boys? And I share this on I have a series in my podcast called Marci on medicine, because this is where the fun deep stuff comes from. And I saw them in our little hut and what they were doing, and saying, like, okay, they're good. And I went back in. When I came out of the experience, we all went to the kitchen. We're sitting there, and my oldest, or one of them, starts to tell me about their experience. And I was like, oh yeah, I know, I heard. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, you said you experienced this, and then this is this, and you were eating this, and and you said this. And I replayed the whole thing I saw. And they both went, Mom, are you psychic? And I was like, no, I'm just, now at that time, I didn't realize and have awareness that, yeah, I'm fucking psychic. We all are. We all have these abilities. I was like, no, I just tapped in the quantum field. Now, from utilizing many of the immersions, I mean, I've traveled the entire world and worked with enlightened masters and teachers and immersions and all the things that I was called to do in my higher experience. And so now it's like I can look up and I can just see the quantum field. I can see energy. I can see light language. I can see communication. I can see spaceships dropping in. I can see it all. And I know I have opened up and accessed the gifts of feeling energy so intensely. I literally can sit and be with someone. I can feel everything that's happening in their system. And this is what allows me to connect with their guides, and why in my breakthrough work, the stuff that people would pay me $50,000 to be in a mastermind or $1 million to work with me was because this one-on-one, I can literally do, and we can like alchemize things that have taken years. They've held on to 40 years. Like it's in minutes. We've seen this happen over and over and over again. And so we all have access to these things. Our DNA has just been shut down and blocked from the stuck energy appendages, from our programming that we've learned. When we, again, as we access our third eye, of course, we all have these abilities. We feel what's in the field, you know, to the point, like for me, it's like the other day I was traipsing down into the jungle to work with one of my teachers, and we get naked in the rivers of the jungle and do breath and chanting and activation work. And I literally,
as we do in Bali.
I know, right? Like typical Ubud, like, you know, day. And I also had this thought of a snake. And I was like, that's interesting. Like, why would that? And literally within 30 seconds, snake was right in my field. And I just felt it in the field, you know? So it's like we start to access our sensitivity, our senses coming online, our abilities to communicate and, you know, to all the power that we have. We all have that. We get to access it and remember it, which takes some cleansing out our rainbow light body and activating and clearing our rainbow light body, the stuck appendage points. It allows us to cleanse the thoughts and stories of things that are creating limitation, that have us blocked from a higher level of consciousness, a way of operating. And the more that we're doing that, again, we're becoming a lighter vibration. We're becoming in light. And so hence we access more of our capabilities and our gifts.
Nice. And what's the rainbow light body?
Well, I mean, if you study the Kabbalion and different things, they'll refer to like the Ka body or the Kot body in the Egyptian studies and the temples of Isis. She refers to the sacred sexual alchemy. Again, sex magic is also alchemy to activate the Kundalini and the DNA within the Ka body, there's the Ka and the Kot body, which is like your spiritual, etherical, astral body. That's a duplication of your actual physical body. So I consider the rainbow light body our actual being, our actual vessel that is connected through our spirit, is connected to our physical body. And yet our physical body has all these stuck, like if you think of energy is like, should be flowing through us like water. Like every breath we take, why the fuck did we do this right before, right? Right? Like breath is life force energy, prana life force energy. Now, when we're aware of that and we're conscious what's happening, we're actually aware of every breath and we're receiving it fully, and we're allowing it to calm our nervous system, which is a reflection of our presence and our ability to be with our breath, right? Like that in and of itself, when you said, what are you the most grateful for? And I'm like, magic, miracles everywhere. Most people are only seeing this one thing. They don't see what's available. So it's like even our breath is an activation of our light body, but it can't move through our system, through our chakras. So most people are operating fragmented and they're like projecting out in fragments. They've fractalized their body. So when we start to cleanse and clear all of our channels, it's like energy can move through us like water. It should be flowing through us, but what's happened is it's kind of like it's gotten frozen and stuck. And so it's created these knots in these places where energy isn't moving through us as through vertical alignment. We're kind of like, we're projecting and we're, you know, there's like attachments and you might hug or experience someone and it feels like there's hooks or things like that. It's because people aren't operating in their divine flow. And so the rainbow light body is just allowing us to cleanse and clear what is stuck, that we can become more light. And we have the rainbow light body is our access to our greater gifts and tools. Like even the fact that in our DNA, our natural DNA, we have the ability to feel pleasure at such a degree. If you're in orgasmic bliss and pleasure, I would feel it to the same extent you do. Now that's fucking heaven. Like, can you imagine us all walking around and you were like, we just want everyone to be fucking blissed out and happy, because guess what? I feel it too. I feel, because I am connected to you. We are wholeness. We are energetically connected. So of course your greatest joy and your heart being fulfilled brings me even more joy and bliss in this life. But we've been operating from a lower density that's blocked that I don't want you to be happy, and like, oh, there's only so much, and all this bullshit that's also keeping us from experiencing more joy for ourselves. So the more that you become liberated, I become liberated, and we all become liberated.
Well, actually, I was going to ask you, how does it look like, the new us for you?
It means for me, well, first off, I mean, it was a couple years ago when the light being said to me, we're coming to a time when there'll be, new earth is available. And it's like, what's going to happen is some fucking shit's going to go down that will be either people can either choose new earth or we can choose destruction. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I guess if destruction shows up, that's what is our perfect experience
like a fork in timeline.
Yeah, it's like literally we have infinite options available. And so they said the more people that it's like we tip the scale. The more people that lean towards new earth, we tip towards new earth. The more people that lean towards fear and control and all these things, we tip to that way. And so honestly, I'm like, I have no idea what this looks like, but I'm just aware of this. Now, when I was called to do Peace for the Planet, it was because of, it's like, hey, how many more people can we activate with these transmissions, these codes of light to really receive these messages, these truths, and start implementing them? And I'm like, here I'm experiencing new earth right now.
Well,
I'm operating in heaven as a state of consciousness right now. And there's very much people all over the world that are experiencing
I was going to ask you because, for example, personally, when you had that breast cancer, you chose not to talk about it, to really focus all your energy on the more desirable, let's say. And I was going to ask you, do you do the same with what's happening in the world? Because we're at a moment when, so I'm asking you, but really it's a question to myself also, which is, do we want to spend a little bit of energy about awareness of what's going on giving awareness to people on the manipulations going on in the world? Or are you fully into only thinking about that new earth and what we want and what's quote unquote wrong in the world? We don't look at it at all.
It's a great question. I feel like we could geek out on this for hours on end because there's many layers to this, right? Like each of us are called to our specific, like there's different levels of ascension. Like there's people that are called to be the fucking warrior that are like standing on the front lines.
What's your role?
My role is to alchemize the fuck out of everything and be light.
So you don't really speak about that?
No. So this is the thing. What I mean by no is I do whatever I feel called to do. I don't have a label or a black and white story. I don't have a boundary. I am here to be in my full, with all of life, right? And there's times literally when they're like, hey, this people get to be aware of what's happening. And I've been called to speak. Hey guys, we get to be aware, but my focus and intent is always to transmute it to light. I'm not buying into I'm fucking sovereign. And my safety is in my sovereignty. All of our safety is in our sovereignty. By me feeling energy and being discerning, I choose where I put my intent, where I choose my energy, creates my experience. So anything that I've been called to, I mean, definitely been called to it with, to speak to a lot of these layers with this happening. That's why I did Peace for the Planet. And like the first activation they had channel through me for Peace for the Planet was fucking to feel the anger, the control, the annoyance, all the inconvenience, everything that COVID was bringing up. It wasn't to go, okay, we're not going to look at COVID. We're all just going to look at this. So this is the clarity that I want to speak to, is because I'm here to fucking alchemize everything to light. It does not mean I'm actually willing to look at it and lean in with it and say, hi, beloved. But I don't have to create a fucking story of drama. Like, I see it for what it is. It's just a different frequency. It's an experience. It's what we're choosing. It's our greatest awakening. It wouldn't be here now if we didn't choose it. So this is fucking for us. Hello, beloved. Thank you. And leaning into feeling the feelings of annoyance and grief and anger and feeling controlled. All the things. I actually had a staph infection that almost killed me right before COVID. And the Syrians came in and said, this had to move through your system, that you could carry these codes of everything that the earth was going to experience, of feeling controlled and victimized and all these things. So it's like we get to all transmute that through our system. And then we get to choose. So it's like when I hear all the things that are happening, it's like I don't have to buy into the stories that maybe other people are buying into that is why they're feeling the fear. I can witness it and I can accept that it's here and I can love it. You know, I can love all things. I don't have to, I don't have an attachment or expectation. I know that I have the option to live in New Earth. And by me living in New Earth, I am being that vibration frequency for the planet that's doing more for the planet than you know, me not doing that, right? So
my understanding is that you are aware, you look into it if it's presented to you, and you don't really have an ideal of how people should be.
Right.
It's like to me, the Lightleaders is almost a tribe of superheroes.
Right.
So for example, people will listen to you and maybe to Margot Anand, that was just before, and it's all about bliss, but you still have that awareness, and then they'll listen to Sasha Stone. Or Ole Damegard, who are,
and each person
then we all
gets
have
to follow.
roles, and it's about what's calling you right now.
They each have a role. So, like I said, my former beloved, one of my beloveds that was in a former relationship with, he feels so called to be in the front lines. He's like posting like every day, like the awareness about the news and da 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 da. I don't feel called to do that. Then it's beautiful. That's just what he feels called to do. And and like I said, there's different stages of where we're at and what we see, and where I'm experiencing it and feeling and seeing it all out of love and light. It doesn't have to affect my life. I can just bring love and light to it. But that also means I'm always doing the work for my own alchemy. And each of us doing this healing work is how we're healing the planet. So I'm called right now to fucking lead the light leaders, to operate from fifth dimensional consciousness, to neutralize or alchemize everything they've ever experienced, to see it as their greatest, highest good, to actually witness what's here for us right now. That's where I can be the greatest good for the new earth. And that means every single person that feels I'm scared. It's like I did a whole show, a couple shows of just channeling of us dealing with the effects of COVID and what we're feeling and experiencing. So it's to be with all of it, really. To be with all of it. It's not to deny any part of us. And so there's no wrong or right way. And we saw this with the beginning of COVID. So many people we all should be speaking up. We all should be doing this. And people felt scared to do anything. Should I speak up? Should I not? Da, da, da. It's when we just fucking drop the story and honor yourself. Do what feels right for you. And if you're feeling, force or fight or struggle around, I think it's for us our own thing to and honor each person for what they're experiencing, because every single person is here in whatever they're supposed to be journeying through to allow their greatest light. So, but it's all available. That's why I'm we can. And the Arcturians told me the other day that we had 100 million new light codes and sound codes downloaded into our hologram. So we're getting so much access to higher light codes. And they did tell me that we had that 49% of the population chose to go into sleep, to this is too much and I'm just going to sleep. But the good news of that is that 51% of the population chose awakening. And that means we're already over 50%. We're already tipping the scales, and it's just going to grow.
It's an exciting time. We can see that kind of forking timeline or separation that occurs, and reminds me a bit that probably you've read The Law of One, and also I like Bashar.
Yeah, I love Bashar. I love how he talks about manifestation too.
Yeah, and he talks a lot about these times where some people will go into that 5D consciousness and experience the new earth, and at the same time people will go in a different timeline, and we can still see it at the moment, but more and more.
That's why I say we can experience new earth here.
Exactly, and that's what it reminds me of, is that split in reality we experience today between, for example, places like Ebarle and the rest of the world, or some other parts. Yeah,
but the more that we can share what's possible and available, the more we create new earth for everyone. And again, that's why I said it's not just be well, we're good, we're in Bali, I'm in my bliss, and to deny what's happening in the world. It's actually to send love to that, to support and being our greatest light, that we keep sharing the light, and to know that the more people are healed, the more we're all having greater liberation. The more experience we have, the more we experience more bliss and joy, etc. So it's that's what's available for all of us. So really, when you ask what do I see New Earth as, there's different teachings I've gotten the codes for around New Earth abundance is what I call it. And it's living in where we're in stewardship. We're not in ownership. Then this is why, I was called to literally, it's teach everything you have, give everything you have. Everyone gets to receive that. We're, in the embodied empire led by spirit, that we just did. I created a model where I was they were told me, this is New Earth model. It was free. Anyone could access it for free. We also, asked people, hey, please, if you can, contribute and get a ticket. Because in a ticket, 50% of the proceeds went to all of our Bali projects, into philanthropy work, right? The other 50%, everyone got paid. It wasn't, hey, come speak for free or do this. It was hey, everyone gets supported. Everyone receives. Everyone gives and everyone receives. And these are the models where we start to come into a place where, if everyone's just sharing with their love and their light, we do all get to be supported. So I see everyone getting to be seen, be heard, be honored for who they are and what they want to experience in the different roles that they play. And us really having, because we don't have a abundance issue. There's enough abundance on this planet for everyone to be at least a millionaire, if not a billionaire. That's how much abundance we have. We've had a distribution issue. We've had people hoarding, ownership, etc. This is mine. It's instead of us getting to be in stewardship over the land and each other, and for, us all getting to receive.
Thank you so much, Marci.
Yeah.
We're arriving at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
How can people follow you and learn more about your work?
Yeah.
What's next for you also?
So right now I'm called to, like, I was just called to do these online events over the last couple months to Embodied Empire Led by Spirit, to really assist light leaders and people to know that they can build an empire and the empire of their life led by spirit. Right now the next phase is for me to run another year of the Line to Manifest, where it's like new earth, new human training, like mastermind, mystery school, alignment, all the things, human and mystical, all put together. So that's what I'm focused on right now. And yeah, on my website, marcilock.com is where anyone can get like free activations. My podcast, my book is available through that. And we can also make sure everyone gets the Freedom Activators, the 5 steps, because that is such a beautiful tool to just start practicing and working through conscious creation versus unconsciously reacting to what you're unconsciously committed to. So, and Facebook, Instagram, all the things, you know, YouTube.
It'll be in the show notes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Marci, for sharing those downloads. And I think it's a really interesting view of the world and a lot of business that you share for the people who listen. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
And do you have a last word for the listener?
Just fucking be. Like, honestly, that's the best thing we can do, is be with ourselves, is to be in whatever we're experiencing and whatever wants to be. Because if it's not peace, just knowing, I think that what really comes through is that hearing and knowing that your divine natural state is to be at peace, is to be in peace with all of life, in peace with all beings. And if we're not in that, it's just a beautiful gift of feedback to see what we get to play into. So just to start to play into allowing yourself the permission slip of playing into new reality, playing into prosperity, playing into more love, playing into more joy. We're just here to fucking play. We're just in a big playground. So
Like at ecstatic
let's
dance.
play. Yes. play. Yeah.
Thank you, Marci, and thank you to everyone who listened.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for taking some of your precious time to listen to this podcast. If you stayed until the end, I assume it was insightful. If you like this podcast, please share with friends. Remember that if you tag us in your Instagram story at the Lightleaders podcast, we will repost. Tell us what you've learned. You can also leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Now, if you think I can help you grow your soul mission business, you can register for a free 15-minute coaching call with me. Go to www.thelightleaders.org/free call. Thank you again, and let's co-create the conscious new earth together. Thank you for watching my YouTube channel. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and to subscribe to my channel.